Okay, so I haven't made a video in a while, and probably a couple weeks ago, I made a note in my journal, some thoughts that came to me about, I'll call it the title, Concerning Unbelief. Concerning unbelief, what I'm talking about here is the unbelief such as Jesus mentioned in Mark chapter 9, verse 29, of why the disciples couldn't cast out a deaf and dumb spirit from a man's son. When the disciples came to him afterwards and they asked him that why couldn't they cast it out, he told them, this kind cometh forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting. I kind of got ahead of it there because if you go back to Matthew, the same account was given by Matthew. Anyway, he was referring to unbelief when he mentioned the prayer and fasting. Matthew chapter 17 and verse 20 is where that's found. And they had just asked him, why could they not cast out this deaf and dumb spirit? And in my opinion, second guessing yourself on things that you know to be true kind of falls in the same category. Now, these disciples had already attempted, to help this man's son, and they were unable to. And they had the necessary knowledge, and according to what Jesus told them, basically, they were, he didn't say it this way. I say they were second guessing themselves. I've had this happen, I think it's easy. It's a common thing that we do in our carnal mind. Even if we know something, there's other things that are getting our attention, trying to tell us, and it couldn't be. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm trying to go with this. So when he said the prayer and fasting, I'm not sure that he was talking about the demon, the type of demon. I think that when you have Jesus, name above all names and authority above everything else, I don't see how a certain demon, could require prayer and fasting. Jesus certainly, he was able to deal with it right then and there. And it really appears to me that he probably was referencing their unbelief is, they could have by prayer and fasting gotten more in tune with their spirit side and kind of blocked out more of the carnal nature. I do know Jesus, he fasted and he stayed in the wilderness, and, he had really prepared himself ahead of time. So it's hard for me to really tell for sure exactly. I won't say specifically for sure, but I think he was talking about unbelief. So anyway, in my notes, I was going back to a time when I was a young man. I was learning to land an airplane, and I had been through all the necessary training. It was a windy time of the year, which kind of knocked a dent in your confidence because it was a little bit scary. But anyway, I remember I was learning to land a plane. I'm kind of referring to some notes I had here to stay on track. I almost gave up because of frustration. I remember that too. I thought, man, I've already invested so much time and money into learning to land, and I was just really frustrated because I knew what the altimeter, said, what the airspeed said. I knew, all the adjustments of things. I knew what I was supposed to know, but it just seemed like when it got down to the last couple of feet, I always bounced real hard. The instructor had to grab the stick. It really frustrated me, but I did stay. I kept going. I kept trying because I was really wanting to get my pilot's license, which I ended up getting. But anyway, I almost gave up because of frustration. I had all the necessary knowledge that I needed to land a plane, but it was clouded by unsureness and maybe bad focus. But after I kept on, eventually, everything I had learned seemed to click. This is one of those moments where it just all of a sudden, you couldn't hardly believe it. It just all came together. And all at once, in a moment, I was surprised that I was indeed able to land a plane almost automatically. And ever after that, every time I was able to do it. I didn't have to have anybody take over after that. It was, and I compare that to such as the first time someone is successful at riding a bicycle alone for the first time. As soon as their instructor turns loose, out of frustration, I taught myself to swim. I had gotten embarrassed at a camp that I'd been at. All the other people were jumping into the stream and playing ball and everything, throwing a ball back and forth. And I didn't realize it was over my head, and I jumped in. They had to pull me out. That was so frustrating. I mean, it was very, yeah, my ego was really, really harmed. So I made it, my mission to learn to swim, and I did. So out of frustration, I taught myself to swim when I was young, and it became apparent to me after I learned to swim. It became very apparent to me that, at least for me, about 90% of being able to swim really was confidence, and the other approximately 10% was appeared to be method or technique. I mean, things such as you got to keep your fingers together, you cup your hands. That was only seen to be about 10% of it. Most of it was just the confidence that whatever you do is going to keep you from going under. And once I learned that, of course, it felt really good, just like landing the plane. But anyway, part of unbelief, I think, is a lack of confidence or unsureness. In James chapter 1, verses 5 through 8 says that if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And I want to say this, that as you're seeking, to get this unbelief out of your life, that you can believe what you pray, as the Scripture declares, if you ask anything and believe and don't unbelieve, that you'll have what you ask. Of course, it has to be in God's will. You can't ask him to do things that are wrong. But it's pretty clear what his will is if you just read his word. That's pretty simple. So anyway, I'll end this by saying in Colossians chapter 3, verse 15, it says, and let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to which also ye are called in one body, and be ye thankful. The peace of God. That's how you know. A lot of times you're wondering, you're on the edge and you think you know something, but do you have peace? I'll end with that. God bless you. Thank you for watching the videos, and I hope you have a very blessed day.